Dr. Seuss and his involvement in World War II. After Dr. Seuss published his fourth children's book in 1940, he started on his fifth, McElligot's Pool, in early 1941. But that book would not appear for another 6 years because he was worried about the expanding World War. As he put it, while Paris was being occupied by the clanking tanks of the Nazis, I was listening on my radio. I found I could no longer keep my mind on drawing pictures of Horton the elephant. I found myself drawing pictures of Lindbergh the ostrich. Seuss was referring to Charles Lindbergh, the world-renowned American pilot and prominent isolationist. Lindbergh and other members of the America First Committee thought that the U.S. should stay out of the wars in Europe and the Pacific. Seuss, however, disagreed. As he later wrote, we were going to have no choice in the matter. If war with the Axis powers, Germany, Italy, Japan, was inevitable, then, Seuss thought, the U.S. had better get prepared. Deciding to convince his fellow citizens that they needed to prepare for war, Seuss set aside McElligot's Pool and began his 21-month career as a political cartoonist, publishing over 400 cartoons for the liberal New York newspapers, PM, between April 1941 and January 1943. In 1942, Seuss turned his energies to direct support of the U.S. war effort. First, he worked drawing posters for the Treasury Department and the War Production Board. Then, in 1943, he joined the Army as a captain and was commander of the animation department of the 1st Motion Picture Unit of the United States Army Air Forces, where he wrote films that included Your Job in Germany, a 1945 propaganda film about peace in Europe after World War II, Our Job in Japan, and the Private Snafu series of adult Army training films.
Bitte, mein Herr, haben Sie ein Like? Danke. Of course, the enemy sometimes uses camouflage, too.
His cartoons make fun of isolationists. They mock the leaders of the Axis powers, Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, and Hideki Tojo. They oppose fascism. They criticize discrimination against Jews and against African Americans, at a time when such discrimination was both legal and common. Seuss's sensitivity to social injustice stems from his adolescence, the period of his life that he considered the source of his creativity. Asked how much his childhood influenced his work, Seuss replied, I think I skipped my childhood, but I used my adolescence. His grandfather had emigrated from Germany in the 19th century, and during the First World War, young Ted Geisel was teased for being German-American. Classmates carrying brickbats chased him home as they shouted, Kill the Kaiser! Fearing persecution, the Geisels' Lutheran Church stopped holding services in German and began holding the services in English. In 1921, his freshman year at Dartmouth College, no fraternities asked him to pledge. As he told his biographers, with my black hair and my long nose, I was supposed to be Jewish. It took a year and a half before word got around that I wasn't. I think my interest in editing the Dartmouth humor magazine, The Jack-O-Lantern, began that pledge week. It's no coincidence that the boy picked on for his ethnicity and his presumed religion would grow up to create cartoons that attacked prejudice. After the war, he brought his political message to children's books. A tale of a tyrannical turtle who builds his empire on the backs of his suffering citizens, Yertle the Turtle, 1958, took its inspiration from the rise of Hitler. At the book's conclusion, Max, spokesturtle for the oppressed countrymen, bursts, toppling the dictator Yertle. And the turtles, of course, all the turtles are free, as turtles and maybe all creatures should be. Seuss's opposition to anti-Semitism inspired the Sneetches, 1961, a story in which star-bellied Sneetches discriminate against starless Sneetches. At story's end, they learn that Sneetches are Sneetches, and no kind of Sneetch is the best on the beaches. A 1953 visit to Japan served as part of the inspiration for one of his most powerful anti-prejudice books, Horton Hears a Who, 1954. Dedicated to a Kyoto University professor he met on his trip, the book dramatizes the plight of the Who's, inhabitants of a planet threatened with destruction unless others, such as Horton, stand up for them. Whoville facing annihilation suggests a parallel with two Japanese cities facing atomic bombs dropped by the U.S. in 1945, ending the Second World War. But the Who's could stand for any group of people threatened by a more powerful group. In the book's memorable refrain, a person's a person no matter how small. The Who's small size is an arbitrary mark of difference, such as race, creed, sex, or nationality. Seuss's activist children's books tell the readers that even the smallest, apparently insignificant person has an important role to play.